Here's a brief but pertinent one on what you're not being told about the market crash, quote unquote. More than 50% of the US dollar actually exists outside of North America. What this means is the moment other nation states decides to begin to trade in other currencies by not using the dollar, US dollar, as their reserve currency, those 50+% of US currency outside of North America now comes back home. It becomes an influx that rushes back in. This thing called inflation is currently active, and people's expectation that it would drop, which will cause markets to drop, houses prices to drop, assets to drop. Once those influx of US dollars comes back in, it would perpetuate inflation far more than what we're currently experiencing. Meaning prices of things will increase way more than what they currently have increased right now. And the value remains the same. What you have to realize is other nation states have been in state of inflation for decades and generations. People here being in inflation since about 2019 up to 2023, they think that's long. They think 4 years of inflation is a big deal. Other nation states have been in inflation for 2-3 generations. Children and different children are being born after another while that nation state is in inflation. And they're beginning to say no. Now they're dumping the use of the US dollar as their currency. And the way that is done is they trade it in for whatever currency that is being used as a reserve currency. And when it's traded in, the US dollar comes back home to roost. And when there's more cash in a society than there's value, inflation occurs. The value of things remains the same, but the currency itself keeps increasing. So now people have to work way more to get limited value. There are several solutions, which on YouTube, I'll briefly speak of it this way. You might think it's completely unrelated, but for those of you on Patreon, you see where we're going with this. If you look at that thing called post office stamps, compared to any given currency, whereby if you exchange a bottle of 16-ounce water once upon a time for about $3, and say for instance now that $3 of 16 ounce of water has become $5, that 16 ounce of water did not change in its innate value, but the currency you're exchanging it for has weakened, so now you have to give more for the same value. Whereas that stamp itself actually increases in value as the currency you're exchanging it for gets weak, meaning the weaker the US dollar, the more value each postal stamps have. So when postal stamps increases in price, it's subsequently increasing in value because that postal stamp itself is the value. And the more amazing part about anything relating to post, there's this thing called Universal Postal Union that a lot of people know about as being international. They have a lot of influence on things of currency and international commerce, to which the post office and certain products and services are directly tied into, and how you can intertwine that into the realm of commerce, foreign exchange, preservation of value, now for yourself and for your children. And that can occur and come in many, many different ways. Many different ways. This is where you would get people engaging in some speculative things where they put postage stamps at the top right of their papers, the bottom right of their document, putting their thumbprint on it. That's about 10% of the true information, whereby someone mixed and matched something and they said, put it here and you become the postmaster of your paper. That method is actually used when it comes to banking and certain manner of things that a lot of people will be doing when it comes to the monetary value of that birth certificate. But they don't know, or at least they don't know just yet. Even when you pay close attention to the old manner of how monies are made, what you do is you put your thumbprint on it. Even recently, right now, if you have some type of check to claim in the bank, or if there's some type of forfeited monies and you want to reclaim it, What they will have you do at the bank is they will open up this book, write your name, sign your name, and put your thumbprint on it. These foundational principles of banking is what people are mixing and matching with completely unrelated things. It's almost a joke. And these people do these blindly just because others tell them. And it trains their mind to perceive one manner of action with something completely unrelated. In case it's not clear. When you put your thumbprint on things, stamps, or anything with monetary value, it's the act of creating money. Even when you look at that birth certificate, when they put some footprint of the child in it, there's a reason why they're doing that. And when you look at some older birth certificates, the parents will put their thumbprint on it. It's not until recent that they substituted a signature on other forms that are auxiliary to that birth certificate, or the parent's thumbprint, or the child's footprint. And it goes on and on like that. You need to know these things because inflation is not going away anytime pretty soon. Look at this chart right here. Study it. What you're looking at here is letting you know that the amount of money from around the world, internationally, outside of North America, more than 50% of it is the US dollar. And with the whole thing going on with BRICS, they are dumping US dollars, and that money's, all this 50+% of the US currency are going to be coming back home. And it will screw up the economy and perpetuate inflation. Perceive this as fear mongering all you want, but it only becomes fear mongering if you don't know what the solution is, or if you intend to stay in the same position you are. You see a fire burning and the wind is blowing a certain direction, and you're going the opposite direction of where the wind is blowing. Do you not know that the fire is being fed by the air and where the oxygen is blowing? And you're going the opposite direction, meaning you're facing it. You're supposed to function in a certain manner and move adjacent to it to create a 90-degree angle to prevent that fire from coming to you. But you first need to be aware that there are certain attributes that contribute to how that fire spread for you to even know how to properly position yourself. When it comes to the issues of monies and financial stability, what you do affects the totality, and what occurs in totality affects you. And positioning is a very, very huge attribute. But you can only position yourself if you're competent enough about the reality of things beyond hobby or intellectual masturbation that you see on social media. And a lot of people hear about the UPU when it comes to tax rate per Q. That's something that they're engaging in completely different from the route that they're supposed to be looking at. They know there's power in the UPU, but they're using a service of the post office completely unrelated to the power of the UPU. A video on Patreon is being done relating to this. And that thing a lot of people are chasing after with the birth certificate. See, the worse the economy gets, the better it is for some people. And by people, I'm referring to different degrees. You can be investing in real estate, as a developer, as a private money lender, as someone who basically buy and hold, whether you do that through subject to acquisition and then lease option, or you do it through Section 8 as a developer, or Section 8 as a landlord, or if you're in other primary assets dealing with natural resources outside of real estate, or even if you're in the secondary or the third stages such as holding paper or doing other types of businesses, or you're doing other things that's not common, like this matter of the birth certificate and its use. Whatever aspect you're in, there's always two dichotomy of people. One who just go along with the flow and simply react, and others who see that once things are messing up, that's the time to really make money. The difference between the two dichotomy of people, regardless of what aspect of business you're doing or what sector you're in, are these foundational information that's being entertained in this video. One part deals with speculation and just react. The other part deals with the reality that actually structure things and use those cycles to their favor. So most of these people who claim certain status when it comes to the quote special information in the birth certificate, most of them, believe it or not, are just reacting. Most of them don't even know these foundational basics, because that birth certificate and its value. But a lot of people are running after authenticating the birth certificate, and then they ask, what do I do next? And they're just stuck. All these things that's going on with monetary value directly ties with the value of that birth certificate also. And when money moves a certain way and behaves a certain way, it affects the value of that birth certificate and the potential of anyone using it a certain way, in any special manner. Most don't realize this. I'll say that and I'll leave it there. So for those of you anticipating a market crash and you're going to do something, think a little bit twice and far more prudent, and begin to invest in certain things, in certain types of banking. And when it comes to the use of that birth certificate, know that there are many ways to skin a cat and many things you can do with it. If you're still faking the funk, you're still pretending, the next 3 to 5 years from now will really reveal that you need to really get up that high horse of pretending and begin to go to work functionally, by really knowing how things correlate from one end all the way to the other. At least you can't say someone is not telling you. Instead of throwing around buzzwords that make you feel comfortable, such as secure party, creditor, subrogation, equity, and all that plethora of words people use that sounds good and attracts people, I'm explaining the core concept of it to you, or at least as much as I can publicly on this YouTube platform. The rest is slowly and gradually being placed on the Patreon page. In the 21st century, in the age of technology where people can send information to each other almost in the blink of an eye, regardless of physical location, especially in North America, while you still have the chance to do so, you should take advantage of it. You should not be a victim. You should not be that weird one jacking off in a corner thinking you're doing something special. Focus on the true attribute of how things work so that you don't become a victim. If you don't care about yourself, care about those who be coming in the future after you. I have a Patreon page and I'm inviting you to come join. Whether you're interested in discharge, we show everything about how it's done and my own experience. Consistent posts are made explaining many things regarding said discharge. Many will seek and simply wouldn't find. Those dealing with mortgage issue or want to know more about it, we speak of it. For those dealing with basic stuff like traffic issues, we speak about the solution, and I show it from my own experiences and how I permanently prevent any such issues. Those worrying about trust, different types of trust, we go over so many things consistently regarding trust. We show the IRS manuals. Those who are interested in suing and making money through debt collection or other means, we go over it, we show it. I show my own settlement checks and the things that I've done as a personal experience. Those interested in banking, we show subtle details and intricacies of the things that I have learned. For those interested in other things like the IRS forms and how to put it to use, we show it, explain the details. For those interested in court-related matters and intricacies, we always show it. For those interested in the spiritual aspect of things and how it works, we show and explain it. Those with child support matters, we explain and we show everything in details also. Great puzzle pieces that can never be found in other social media platforms, but we explain it all as it relates to many different things. For those interested in express trusts and the issue of how not qualifying for taxation, which I call dinking, how it relates to any other type of trust or any other affairs, and how you can intertwine your affairs into the different types of discharge that exist and lack of qualification for taxation. Speak about it. The truth about really recusing attorneys and the whole foreign agent registration and attorney lawyer number, we speak about it. Speak about how to really bring about juries, and some of the comment section asks good questions and greater answers are given. Speak about how to get and use tax exemptions for vehicle use and sales. You don't have to belong to some organization. You can actually get yours according to the language of the legislature within your state. Go over the details that a lot of people mentor about regarding Article 1, Article 3. What really makes a court? It's not limited to just your paperwork. Most people don't know. We go over business matters for those with actual businesses, S Corp, C Corp, LLCs, those who are business minded and those who make money. Go over other things that a lot of people don't know functions internationally. We speak about a lot of other spiritual related matters, details on how to bring criminal charges, what it truly means, to bring criminal charges with a bill of particulars, how to recuse a judge, details of the parliamentary rules in court and legislature, different things about standard of evidence and burden of proof, different things that a lot of people will speak of, discovery. But did you know there are 6 types of discoveries? You know how to intertwine your LLCs and S corps with an express trust, how to not make them taxable. Do you know when Trinity versus Pagliaro really is involved? Do you know how to use your home as a home office? And the many details involved. Go over the injunction and how to enforce the different types of injunctions that exist. The intricacies of how data brokers exist and how they steal information. Not just the credit bureaus, but many data brokers and how you can prevent them. We go over grants, getting grants. We go over issues and solutions of CPN and how they're created. There are about 6 or 4 to 5 different parts that were created. We go over caveats where people say sue them, but they don't really know. We go over the things to do after you sue them. We go over the issues of privacy and technology. The whole thing about perfection of security interest, UCC, and how to use it and how to monetize the birth certificate, all that. We go over the details. There are a lot of principles and doctrines people don't know about that we go over. Go over how to really do the copyright and the details involved in it. Go over how to simply do a trademark. It's far more easier than you think. All these people telling you go to a trademark office, do this, write this letter. It's not that difficult. Go over how to fill out the GSA bond box at a time, and so many more. How to get settlement checks, how to put your vehicle in a trust. I show you from my own experiences, form for form, step by step. Go over the different types of relief to be granted. The type of relief you seek invokes the type of jurisdiction that you fall under. All these people speaking about chancery, equity, at law, common law. The relief that you seek is directly tied to the type of jurisdiction. Go over the CPN, how it's created. Go over how to obtain bonds, where to do it. Go over the different types of discharge and some more. We explain each of those types of discharge. We explain how trademark and copyright is affiliated with asset protection. We go over how to prove trust. We go over the different types of fraud. We go over the importance that many people will never know. So many more. I show my own experiences in the audio calls from court cases of how I get different types of settlement checks. Go over the different types of discharge. There's so much more that it can't even completely be spoken of here regarding trust. We go over how to create it step by step, and many more things that will never be shown on YouTube or any other platforms. Go over other principles that people don't know about. When they speak about statute of limitation, well, fraud does have a statute of limitation, but do you know how to subvert it? As to why that phrase fraud has no statute of limitation to bring it to life, most people don't know. There's so many things that we speak about. We speak about how to garnish people's checks and people's property. There's a form that you use for that. People don't know about it. Speak about details regarding foreign trustees. Speak about spiritual related matters. And on the Instagram page, if you get to join, come on over. There's also a Facebook page where questions and answers are posted and other reminder links to certain videos are shown. Until next time, take care. Best of luck.